Hi, this is Larry Hatch for Fun and Worthless Ted Lasso Trivia Part 1. And I know there's a lot of Ted Lasso trivia out there, but this is going to be hard stuff. This is going to be advanced to maybe intermediate for some of you. Um, and it's not going to be like, who's the guy that plays Ted Lasso? What's his name in real life? No, it's not going to be stupid shit like that. Sorry, I'm going to channel Roy a little bit here. Tell them to F off. Um, so let's get down to it. I'm going to do 10 in this episode and maybe 10 in the next one if you guys like it. So please subscribe and like, give me some encouragement because this is one of my favorite shows, which I fortunately have on DVD. I kind of knew some people who knew some people who knew some people and got some of those for your consideration award show voter discs that are legally produced by Apple. But I kind of glad I have all 5 of those discs. What I'm going to do for season 3, I don't know. I guess I'll just get it and watch later. Anyway, our first question is, there are 3 references to former UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, who won 11 national championships. Name at least one. And I think the reason John Wooden is in there because he was a big influence on Ted Sedekis' high school basketball coach. Well, he's a big influence on a lot of basketball coaches. So Ted's got him. Ted. Jason has him worked into a lot of stuff. You'll see that John Wooden's famous Pyramid of Success is on the wall of Ted's office. And by the way, that's not unusual. I've seen that painted on walls of basketball facilities in a lot of different places, and it's a common thing. Chart for success, highly recommended. That's the first reference. The second reference is a little stranger, maybe. Ted makes reference to John Wooden, but calls him by a funny made-up name, John Obi-Wan Gandalf. Kind of mixing in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Because in a strange way, John Wooden was a almost unrealistic, unearthly magic man, although he was quite a down-to-earth, humble guy. And that's kind of cool, John Obi-Wan Gandalf. That's kind of hilarious. And then there might be a third reference. You can vote. You can comment on that if you like. Coach Beard is seen reading a book, The Inverted Pyramid, Tactics for the Game Soccer or Football, something like that. I better get that right. Let me. I have that somewhere here. Yeah, I don't. But anyway, that may be a reference. That's a reference to a very famous book on football. But whether that's a reference to John Wooden's pyramid is somewhat up for debate. Because John Wooden is barely known in England, even among basketball fans. And people tell me that there are other meanings of the word pyramid in football. So that this book may only tangentially be referring to John Wooden's pyramid and inverting it. So you let me know. I have not read the book and I don't have a copy of it, so I don't know offhand if John Wooden is cited as sort of the inspiration for that, but it would kind of surprise me that a British football book would make reference to John Wooden, as famous as his pyramid is. And that author of that book is Jonathan Wilson, by the way. So I don't know. Full name is Inverting the Pyramid, The History of Football Tactics. John Wooden's book is not really about tactics. It's more like life motivation and behavior. So anyway, if anybody of you knows that Inverting the Pyramid book, please comment and let us know if that's a John Wooden reference or not. Our next trivia question is Anthony Head, the evil Rupert Mannion, Played two other characters named Rupert in his career. Name both. I'm going to say, make you name both because one of them is probably fairly well known. And the one that's really well known is he played Rupert Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then there was like a little short called Robot Chicken. Again, he voiced Rupert Giles in that. Let's see, when was that? I'll get a date on that if I can. Let's see. Rupert Giles, Robot Chicken was around 2000. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh, heck. I can't find the year for that one. But the third Rupert he played was in a somewhat less known TV series. It was Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, and he played Rupert Thorne with an E on the end. So he plays Rupert Mannion, Rupert Giles, and Rupert Thorne. I guess he just kind of looks like a Rupert. Since the Ted Lasso writers hardly did anything by accident, I'm thinking keeping him known as Rupert might be a reference to him being the Watcher. Although his character on Buffy the Vampire Slayer was pretty darn nice and cool. Kind of the opposite. God, I'm kind of lingering on here. Our third question is Jeremy Swift, Higgins, plays a role in Downton Abbey. Who is his character? And I knew I had seen Jeremy somewhere recently, and I knew it was on a British show, and I just couldn't think of it. His role in Downton Abbey is kind of very short, and in maybe just one scene, I think. Well, anyway, he plays a butler. I think the word is butler. Houseman. Something like that. In Downton Abbey under the great name of Septimus Spratt. And he works for the lovely Dowager Violet Crowley. And he is called in to help her find out who among the staff or visitors might have stolen one of her treasures. And of course, Violet Crowley is played by, well, you know who. The absolutely unparalleled actress. And I'll let you give us her name if you want. But anyway, he does play that role pretty well. And our fourth trivia question today is James Lance, also known as Trent, the guy from The Independent, and Anthony Head Rupert worked together recently in another TV show. What is it? I have not seen it yet, but I had intended to. And this show is the Canterville Ghost. And here's a picture of Mr. Anthony Head playing the Canterville Ghost. And by the way, Sir Patrick Stewart played this in another version of this show. And he comes into contact with the Otis family, who is a billionaire, nouveau rich American family. They made billions in high technology and bought the Canterville's old mansion, and are, according to the Ghost, Anthony Head's character, they are desecrating it. So here is James Lance, Trent Krim, playing an American out of place in England. Wonder if we've heard of that before. So, and he actually's got the same long hair, except for the glasses. looks about the same. His clothes are maybe not as good, but he's playing an obnoxious American in England who doesn't know what he's doing and clashing with the culture. How ironic is that? Our fifth question today is Coach Beard calls himself Professor Declan Patrick Alonzius McManus. Whose name is that in real life? And I'll keep it simple. It's Elvis Costello, the great British superstar and musician. So that kind of escaped a lot of people. I know a lot of you, like me, are playing these things 2 and 3, 4, 5 times to get all the jokes out. And by the way, I'd recommend you use closed captioning because some of those jokes are like 1 or 2 words long. And if you don't have closed captioning on or really good hearing, you're going to miss that. Maybe you have a transcript, but closed captioning is easier. So use closed captioning and you will pick up, and then of course your pause button, and you will pick up a lot of jokes like this that kind of maybe went over your head, and you might want to research them if you're a real nerd like me. Our sixth trivia question is: there are at least 2 references to the TV show Cheers so far, and the first one is Ted remarking on Sam and Rebecca dating each other. And he makes a Cheers reference that Sam and Rebecca are his favorite romantic rom-com couple. In reference to Sam and Rebecca on Cheers. So that's just a kind of a name play. And the second reference, which some of you got, because a lot of people kind of paused this, is Roy Kent's favorite kebab shop. Had these 3 pictures of famous stars that eat there, like a lot of restaurants do. Obviously, Roy Kent was one of them. We're going to talk about the third one later. But the one on the left here is George Wendt from Cheers. And that's a nice autographed picture of him. And as some of you have found out, he is Jason Sudeikis' uncle in real life. So Jason is kind of giving a little shout out to his uncle there, who, by the way, is also a very funny guy and appeared on SNL a couple of times. Hilarious dude. Our trivia question number 7 is: the show references the number 1236 twice, at least so far, we found out. Name both times. The first one is when Phoebe and Roy and Keeley are sitting on the bench, and he's cursing, and Keeley says, "Oh, he owes you another quid," like a swear jar kind of thing, except she keeps it in her little purse and writes it down with a little feathery pen. So Keeley asks, how much money does Roy owe her now? And she says 1,236 pounds, which I believe is, somewhere around $1,000, maybe more. I can't remember. It's been a couple of weeks since I bought something from England. Anyway, but it's a lot of money for a little girl. And then the second reference is to their game of paper ball, kind of a keepy-uppy, it's more of a volleyball kind of thing, where the guys toss a little paper ball around and see how many times they can hit it back to each other. And that number is 1236, which amuses the lovely doctor, because that's kind of a waste of time. Question number 8 is showrunner Bill Lawrence produced the TV show Scrubs. That's one of the shows he's famous for. And we'll talk about some of his other shows at another time. But there's a deeper connection between Scrubs and Ted Lasso than that. What is it? And I think some of you know. Zach Braff, also known as JD from the show, directed, at Bill Lawrence's insistence, one of the episodes. Actually, it was the season 1, episode number 2, the Biscuits episode. Biscuits for the Boss, I think it is. And Zach actually got an Emmy nomination for that. So they trusted him on the very second episode of the show to get involved, and I think that shows a lot about his directing and producing ability. And if you look at his Internet Movie Database reference, he's done stuff behind the camera several times, a number of times recently, and so that's kind of where he's heading. Question number 9. 2 of the current actors that got hired actually auditioned for the role of Higgins, but they liked him so much they gave him other parts. And those 2 people were Phil Dunster, Jimmy Tart, and Nick Mohammed, aka Nate the Great. Both those guys auditioned for Higgins, and I could kind of see Nate as a Higgins maybe, but not as good as Jeremy Swift. Not even close. Not even close. But it was kind of interesting that they liked those 2 guys and kept them. And if you read some of the interviews, they'll talk about that, kind of flesh that out. They actually kind of created Jamie Tartt's character. Oh, I shouldn't say they created it. They revised it for Phil. Because I think he was originally going to be like a South American character, I think. But they created the whole Jamie Tartt thing for Phil, and that's kind of cool. Our last question, trivia question today, is what's the deal with a bowl of tuna fish salad, at the end, and somebody saying Ruby? Kind of simple if you figure it out. A couple of people have figured it out. But I kind of figured it out on my own. I did some digging. Ruby is Jason Sudeikis' grandmother's name, so it's kind of a shout out to her. But it's also related to the tuna salad, is that Jason's production company in New York, and I actually looked this up on the corporate registers of New York businesses. His production company is called Ruby's Tuna Inc. Ruby's Tuna Inc. So I guess the business is a shout out to his grandmother, and it's connected with him saying Ruby at the end. And as you probably know, the Doozer is Bill Lawrence's company. His middle name is Van Duzen, spelled differently. I think it's Vanduizon, something like that. So the 2 of them kind of get their production companies in there at the end. But that bowl of tuna salad just kind of really flipped out a lot of people. Are like, what? And then Ruby. It's kind of like the Rosebud reference. In Citizen Kane, it's kind of like out there. So anyway, if you like these questions, and I'll do another set or 2, please like and subscribe, and we'll get it done. Thank you.